Okay, welcome to the webinar. If you are signed in and viewing, you should be now seeing the first slide, which is Enterprise Tier 1 Short Code Texting, meeting the communication needs of the new generation of health seekers. So a lot of you are coming to this with various understanding of texting and how an agency would text with the public. Our model is short codes. We use Tier 1 short codes, meaning these are 5 or 6 digit numbers that are provisioned with the mobile carriers. They are provisioned because they need to have automatic opt-in, opt-out, which means that end-user privacy is fully supported. So when we reference short codes, there are several that our agency powers, and one of them you may be familiar with, 898-211, is the dedicated short code used by 211s, now more than 50%. So that user base has expanded, grown significantly. There's other short codes that we power. There's short codes that a lot of crisis centers use, 839863 or 20121. There's 85511 that a lot of United Way agencies use. So you might be coming to this webinar in thinking about another short code or thinking about services as they pertain to your INR or the way in which you reach out and engage the public. Maybe you're more involved with collective impact and community engagement and donor relations and volunteer relations. All of those things are now supported under the suite of services Prevention Pays Text. This particular webinar is going to focus, though, on live health by text and providing outgoing push-style messaging, so being able to send group text, but then also have conversational text with individual end users. So the short code that we'll do some testing on is 898-211. So that's the 211 related short code. But if you are interested in learning about services as they pertain to another short code, please just reach out and contact us. This is our website, preventionpaystext.com. And we are members of Supporters of the Years Network. We've been at the last 6 conferences, and we have supported them in presentations. So you might want to look at past presentations through the AIRS website. You can also look at the AIRS Networker, and if you search for the term text or text messaging, you can find a lot of information that's been posted over the years on text messaging and on that AIRS Networker. So if you're big on using that as a tool to learn more about INR and the INR community and providing INR services, you might find a wealth of information there. The short codes that we power strictly adhere to CTIA and FCC communication guidelines. Now, 5 years ago, this wasn't as big of a deal, but today it is. It's a much bigger deal. CTIA and FCC are cracking down on non-compliant texting. So texting that doesn't have automated opt-in, opt-out protocols, that they don't post information about end-user privacy. So if you're investigating services and you come across a service and you ask them, do you automate the opt-in, opt-out, and they say no, well, that's a big red flag for whether or not you want to pursue that, because the opt-in, opt-out protocols is the linchpin. It's a cornerstone of end-user privacy. Extremely important. Okay, my name is Jonathan Hawley. I'm with Educational Message Services and Prevention Pays Text, and we are we work exclusively with Health and Human Services. We've provided texting services across many sectors, not just 211s and INRs, but United Way, federal government. We work with a lot of WIC agencies, a lot of educational institutions like colleges, and a lot of research projects have used the service because we utilize co-located servers, and our security and the way in which we store the information is according to HIPAA guidelines. So the texting piece, of course, goes to the mobile phones, but while all the information that's being stored on the website is stored and archived according to HIPAA guidelines. I'm going to go over a couple quick statistics, and then we're going to look at the Google Drive. We're going to look at a few documents that I'm going to draw your attention to, and then we're going to do a demonstration. Okay, so the messaging capacity that's supported under the PreventionPay suite of services is live one-on-one texting for live help. So just the ability to have a feed, a queue, where texts come in and you respond to the need. Now, somebody might wind up in the queue because you put them there. Maybe you're converting them from a phone conversation to a text conversation. So there's an on-ramp for that to bridge mediums. And then the live one-on-one texting is all kept under the one string of information. So one complete record would have the characteristics of that record, the mobile phone number, if you add a name, if you add other data marker information that's tied to that client, and then the conversation itself. And then conversations there could be several. So we define conversations as having a begin and middle and end, just like a phone call. So you can submit your encounters report as being similar to your call report. And those conversations can be concurrent. So you can open up one conversation and be texting with somebody, and then you can open up another conversation and be texting with them. And then it's just toggling between those conversations. You can isolate your conversations that you're working on, work on those, and then close them out. And so there's a kind of a middle ground somewhere between instant messaging, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and then email, because people are on their mobile phone. That means that there might be a lag on their end. They might be getting into their car and driving somewhere, or they might be going home and making something, or they might be interrupted by screaming kids, or who knows. I mean, anything can come up right in your life, and you could be in the middle of a text conversation and not be able to respond to a question. And so there's an ebb and flow that's slightly different than what you might be accustomed to, especially with phone, because hopefully you have their undivided attention when they're on the phone with you. If you don't, then you have to hang up the phone. Well, text follows similar in that they text you, you take the text, but then it shifts into the way in which a text conversation might flow. And that could be bang, 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 back and forth, all done in one short amount of time, or it could go over into minutes or even hours, depending on the way the person, how engaged they are. And you might have protocols at your agency where you close out conversations that for more than 15 minutes, you don't hear from the client. So there's all kinds of strategies and protocols that are now part of the common knowledge, and we put that on our FTP. We put what we've learned and what agencies have learned over time in the FTP that we're going to look at in a moment. We also support reminders and auto responses to keywords. So the ability to send messages and have them go to a group of end users, and those messages can be set up to go out based on keywords that are texted or based on criteria that you set. So you can create group messages to go out based on preference. Like if you find out that they're pregnant, for instance, with the WIC agencies that we work a lot with, they'll send group messages based on women being pregnant or being postnatal and breastfeeding, so that you can have different groups defined in the service. And you can also create ad hoc groups. So you can send reminders with the ability to group individuals in any way you need to. Kind of like how you can send emails to groups of individuals, and you can regroup your emails if you're good at that. Same kind of model applies here. You can create surveys that start at the beginning or are during an encounter or after an encounter. So you can have quality assurance surveys that go out to all clients based on having an encounter with them. You can have surveys that qualify them for a service. So maybe you're doing a food bank intake, and it's complex and you need to ask a bunch of questions, where you can utilize automated survey functionality to query the end user to get the answers to the questions without having to hand type those questions. So there's a lot of assistance with the encounter. Encounters don't have to be, like you would think, just all heavy typing. they can be supported by canned messages, and canned messages can be as many as you want, and in libraries and segmented and grouped, so that all of your encounters are bolstered up by canned libraries and automated surveys if you use them. Then you can create reminder series. So this is the ability to create an educational experience. So you can set reminder 1 to go out X number of minutes, days, or hours, days after a client opts in, or you put the client into that group, and then you can have message 2 go out from that message. So you key off of the previous message, and then you can create a series of messages, kind of like an educational experience, right? Kind of like building blocks. And all of that is you can construct that in the user interface. It's all under your control and under your settings. Group messages. You can create ad hoc groups, right? We talked a little bit about that. So you can also have ad hoc group based on questions that are answered in a specific way. So let's say you do a post-encounter survey, and that survey is all about quality assurance, and you want to send a series of messages, or send that group of individuals group messages at a later time, knowing that this is how they responded to that survey. Very interesting, because you can address concerns. It's not just maybe finding out information for the sake of finding out information, but it might be that because you surveyed them, found out that you had given them referrals, but they weren't able to connect with any of those referrals because of the survey, and then you send them a group message letting them know that they can check back in, or somebody can follow up with them at a later time by calling or texting them, and follow up to make sure that they do get the help that they need. So surveying with a purpose. Appointment reminders. You can create appointment reminders. The neat part about the appointment reminders is that you can allow end user to either confirm or cancel as part of that appointment reminder. And then you can see, if you have a person who's managing all of those text message appointment reminders, you can see a queue that populates with their responses. And then you can have an automated survey that's all about rescheduling. You know, those are very rote, right? Do you like mornings or afternoons? Which day of the week do you like, right? So you could create an end user experience off of the appointment reminders. You're not just sending appointment reminders because they're nifty and they increase attendance, but sending appointment reminders allowing people to confirm or cancel. You'd be amazed how many people will blow off an appointment because they don't feel like they have the knowledge to go to the appropriate place to make that cancellation. So they just would rather just blow it off. So if given the opportunity to reply by text and then perhaps even reschedule by text, well, that kind of changes the paradigm a little bit. Okay, we are going to look over a case study real quick. This was United Way 211 in Atlanta, right? They went live in 48 hours. A lot of people talk about, well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make this happen? Do I need staffing? Do I need to increase my staffing? Well, United Way in Atlanta says no. They use exactly the same staff that they use. They train everybody. It takes about an hour per specialist, and they do it all in-house. And then they provide, they have specialists who are working phones and texts. So they're not doing just, this is the person who is just going to do text messages. Now they have people that are capable of doing that. And if they get super busy, they will put on a specialist just to handle, or a couple specialists even potentially, just to handle the text. But in a slower time, they're able to migrate between the channels. So their soft launch was in 2015, and they received over 200 unique requests. All they did was put it on Twitter and Facebook. Then in April, they saw a big boost because they started to put notice on their IVR, I believe, and then they've just continued to grow over the past several months and then years, and now they're responding to 1,000 to 1,500 unique encounters per month, unique encounters. So that means that each of those like we were talking about, an encounter is somebody asking for help, an agent opening up the case, sending them referrals, and closing the case. In addition to that, they're sending 6,000 phone to text referrals. So that's callers getting referrals by text during the call or shortly thereafter. And if you have a model where you're doing a lot of referrals by phone, using text as a piece to kind of just push that content out, make sure that it gets to that client, make sure that you've got it and you can validate it, right? Going to a report or going to the user interface and seeing that those things are actually occurring, that's important, right? And then also, is the text actually delivered? Wonderful to get that kind of support, so that if in fact you text a caller information and it comes back that that's a landline, well, then you can troubleshoot with that client and figure out what their mobile number is. But it's not just sending out and then going to the abyss and you not having any knowledge of what happened. That's the difference between using a tier 1 short code to do your phone and text referrals and then something else. So the buzz. So INR specialists have said that they prefer text over all other mediums, chat and email. All specialists are very comfortable using the platform. They have said compared to chat and other services, using the system is a lot easier. They like being able to multitask. There's super users. That term has come about. We've heard it from multiple agencies now, not just 2-on-1s, but WIC agencies and other INR agencies that are all finding that there's these super users who really take a liking to the user interface. They take a liking to the channel. Maybe they have a personal experience with text, that they do a lot of texting. If that's the case, then sometimes they'll take the texting more than somebody else. And so those people will always come to the surface. You'll find those people at your agency. And those might be your first staff that you put onto the queue, because they're more ready. They're more ready to take on the challenge. And that can really make a huge difference if you've got somebody there that is just really interested, intrigued by alternative channels. End users, clients, what do they say, right? So here's a stat that I think you'll appreciate. End users, the clients that use texting, are very complimentary. They give very positive feedback, and that psychologically is a good thing. Specialists have a tremendous workflow. They have a tremendous burden. They work, and a lot of times they're having conversations that have an emotional toll on them. And so getting feedback that is positive can be really good. And over time, we've seen that specialists who do a lot of texting on the text platform are actually reporting that they are feeling better about the work that they're doing, right? That they are getting more positive feedback. Now, why is it that there's getting more positive feedback? Well, it's possible that the end user is in the main a younger individual. They also are grateful that they can reach out by text, because see, some of these people, like the Gen Ys and the millennials, grew up texting. And so they don't, some of these people don't even have voicemail activated on their phone. Adults in America now text more than they do anything else on their smartphones. And number 6 on the list is voice calls. Number 6, we do more things on our smartphones, all these other things, than we do making voice calls. And then you've got that person who's got a very strong preference for it. And so they're coming to social services looking for text. Can I text this agency? So being able to do that, they find as being really refreshing. After all, INR and 2-on-1s and some of these agencies that have adopted text, they're early adopters. They really are. They're early adopters. You can't go and for instance to Amazon and text Amazon to troubleshoot your product that you just bought. You can't do it. Now, is that coming? Probably, but it's not here yet. So right now, the agencies that are doing texting are leading the way. and they're showing the for-profit sector how to do it, right? It's rather amazing that agencies are adopting this channel in the ways that they have and are doing so, because the INR model is really synergistic with SMS texting. It really is. There's some functionality and some characteristics of INR that meld well with SMS. So some of the quotes from the Atlanta project is, "Thank you for all your help. I think this is a great thing, right? Love this option text. This is so much better than being on hold." So that's when they put it on their IVR, right? So rather than being on hold, I'm just going to text in. You can have click to text on your website, right? So that it's just a quick link to begin a text conversation. Very prompt, great service, would highly recommend. So good positive feedback. And if you have an interest in that area, we would love to hear from you. You know, please send your comments to info@preventionpaystext.com because we want to hear any kind of feedback you have, or if you have a particular interest in that, because I think there's something to the over time having a positive effect on the specialist. And as an agency, we're very interested in exploring that further and learning from others how they interpret that and how they interpret the psychology around providing help, the specialist role, all of that, what kind of toll that takes on them. You know, if that's your specialty, if that's your area of interest, please reach out to us. So what's the overall verdict? The verdict is text is extremely popular among our clients. They prefer text over chat, email, even calling us. While calling, chatting, emails are declining, text use rates just keep going up. We highly recommend this platform. All right, I'm going to pop over to a document here, or I'm sorry, a website. Now this is the FTP. This is a Google Drive. And we do this for all the agencies and all the sectors. So WIC agencies have their own drive, right? 211s have their own drive. And then INRs, crisis, all different drives. And United Way is different drives. So, and each of these drives, we provide links to information. We provide sample content that other agencies have used. We provide all the startup guides and documents that you would need to look at in regards to getting started. So what you need to post on your website, examples of what you can post. What is a keyword? Defining it. How do you get more keywords? The Prevention Pays Text user guide, which is about 17 pages long. So it's not a terribly short document, but it's not a terribly long document. This gives you images of the user interface. It shows you exactly step by step what to do. We also provide web-based training. Now we use a similar platform to this, what we're using for a webinar, but it's GoToMeeting. And GoToMeeting and Citrix provide it. They provide the webinar platform, they provide the GoToMeeting. GoToMeeting is more intimate though, right? It's just for your agency. It might even be just for a handful of specialists, or it might be just for a handful of administrators who are going to be learning how to use the service in this particular way. So we do hands-on training that can last anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes. We record all sessions. We provide those recordings to you so that as an administrator or as a staff member, you can always revisit the training session, stream on your own time, right? And fast forward it, go to the place that you want to focus on, right? Just using the learning tools in the ways that you need to use them in order to gain the knowledge that you need just for the particular use that you're going to be using the service for. If you're responsible for instance, appointment reminders, you can either set up a GoToMeeting session, we can record that session, you can invite others to join it, and it can be all about appointment reminders. You know, bring a little bit of popcorn, some soda, and we learn about how to create appointment reminders in the software. That's it. That's the emphasis. So easy, fun, relatively enjoyable ways of taking on this channel and learning how to use it. The Google Drive also has other things like information about, we post on our blog about success stories.
So what agencies have done, the great things that they've done over time. So when you go to our blog, you're going to find examples of projects that have deployed, that have worked well, and we've written about them. You're not going to find, oh, aren't we great, right? That's not what we're about as an agency. Our blog is about you. It's about what you're doing, what your colleagues are doing. We put samples in here. Everything, samples of print materials, samples of banners, right? Banners that you can put on your website. We have banners that can be put into Illustrator or Photoshop and rebranded. Put your own logo in there. Put your own language in there. Put your own shortcode. Use this language with that language, right? I mean, it's all open source. Everything we put in the folders is open source. So anyone can use it in any format, way they would like. And a lot of times getting started, the hiccup is just that. We're getting ready to launch, but we don't quite have our launch worked out. We know we're going to do a press release, but we know press releases are temporal, right? They come and go, and then that's it. And the press release is over. But now what? How do we sustain an awareness about texting and the ability of the community to be able to text with us and we text with them? Well, creating print material, updating your website, addressing it in a way that has a plan in place. Are you going to put it on Twitter? Do you use the web banners to post on Twitter tweets? Do you use it in conjunction with Tumblr? If you maybe do blog posts, maybe you blog about it, so that you're creating a record, an ongoing depiction and a display of texting and how people can text you. So getting started is training that we help with, and then building awareness, which we help with. So there's so many things that you can gain just by looking at what others have done. And that's what this is all about, is building on the knowledge base of others. We also provide survey samples. So if you're into surveys and you really want to create the most fantastic text message survey known to man, there's survey examples here that you can build on. And then we'll help set up, create that survey, and then deploy it for you. And then you can start to click add clients to take that survey, or have that trigger based on an encounter that they have. I mean, however format, whenever you want that to fire, it will fire. You can also now, through the API links that we're doing, you can have referrals go from your CRM to a texter. You can also have surveys built in your CRM that go out to clients by text, linked, so that we pass back the results of that survey to your CRM. Our API document, completely open source. We have a version of it that's written in lay terms that you can look at all the ways that we built connections, or the capacity to connect with CRMs. We also provide examples of opt-in messages. Now, the opt-out is automated. All you need to do is let people know that they can opt out. Usually that's done at the beginning when they join. And the language for that is text opt to opt out. Now, they could also text quit, unsubscribe. Each of those words will automatically opt them out. They don't get any more messages from you. Canned messages, we provide samples of canned messages. Now, this is fascinating. This is a growing component. Agencies are really exploring the edges of canned messages, because and all I mean by that is automatic messages that populate during your conversation. So you have a library of canned messages you can use. I'm sure you've come across this to some respect, maybe in a chat software that you've looked at, or maybe you're doing some chatting. You know that there's this canned message concept. Well, our libraries are completely customizable, so that you can have unlimited numbers and groups of canned messages. You can have ones that are seasonal. These are the canned messages we use during tax season. We turn them off after tax season. Why look at stuff if you don't need to use it? And then when tax season rolls back around again, we just reactivate that library of text. And then you also have canned message libraries that can be customized right down to the specialist. So an administrator can say, this specialist can have personal canned message library editing privileges. And then an administrator can oversee it. They see what everybody creates, but when specialist logs in, they get to put the canned messages in the order they want, or in the groups that they want, or use the canned messages that they want to use and not use the other ones. Now, they would have access to the other libraries, but it's just that you've given them permission to further customize, further tailor the content so that it's synergistic with how they're having conversations with clients. All right, we're going to hop online, and I'm going to show you a few tricks. Now, when you log in, we'll log out real quick, and then we'll log back in. Okay. So when you log in, you just are going to enter your email address and your password. Simple as that. Everybody's going to have an email address and a password. An administrator would have different access than its frontline responder or specialist or staff member. So you define your list or your group of staff users by, are they an administrator or are they a staff? So that's kind of that first decision. Then there's a staff creation guide on that Google Drive that I pointed you to. That staff creation guide tells you what permissions are all about and what permission you can give to each staff profile. So if they're not an administrator, which by default has access to pretty much everything, then an administrator would then be able to tailor that profile and select, okay, we're going to give this specialist, we're going to give this responder, this staff member, this permission, so that they would be able to create group messages and manage that content. Or we're going to give them this permission so that they can create appointment reminders by text and send those out and manage that content. Or we're going to give them permission or access to the user's queue so that they can reply to live requests for help, right? So you can really, and you can limit what they see so that you're controlling the editing side of the content as much as possible. And then once you set up that profile, then they log in. So you're in control. We help you with initially getting all of your profiles active, set up, and everybody logged in and trained and everything like that. But ultimately, you can be responsible for managing your own staff roster. And all of that, right down to login report details, is going to be available to you. So if you're really big on keeping track of who has access, when they have access, when, what features they have access to, there's reports that support all of that control, but then there's also controls within the website that support all of that. When you log in, you come to the password. Okay. So when you log in, you come to the last page that you looked at. Now, the last page that I looked at was this Users tab. This is the demo site, right? And this is we're going to use 898.211 shortcode, but this could be on 2121, could be on 8551, it could be on any number of shortcodes, right? So, but for the demo, we're going to use 898.211. Now, when I opt in, all I'm going to do is I'm going to text a keyword to that shortcode. Now, when I do that, I pull open my phone and I pull open my texting application. And then if I don't already have that shortcode as a shortcode that I can reach out to, I would create a new contact. And then when I create that new contact, it asks you to put in their number, right? Their phone number. You would just put in 898.211. And then the text message part, I'm going to put 00022. That's a fake zip code. In the INR model for 211s, though, they use real zip codes. That's how we define their area. So when you text your zip code to 898.211, guess where it routes you? It routes you to the queue that handles that zip code or responds to that service area. So you can define your service area that way. And it doesn't have to be that you're 211. You can be an INR and define your service area that way. Or you can invite them to text the keyword and other than their zip code, right? Or you could invite them to text their area code and you could define the area by area code. You can also use triage to guarantee that the person is texting from your area. So an automatic survey that qualifies them. So they text their keyword and then are immediately asked the question, now text your zip code to confirm that you're eligible for services in our area. There's so many ways to address and make sure that you're handling clients and users in your service area. There's many ways. And if you find that somebody slips through the cracks, you just tell them, sorry, we don't provide services to your service area. Here's an alternative resource for you. Or if you're 211, you can tell them to text their zip code and out they'll come from your queue and pop into the appropriate queue. All right, when I'm ready to send the text, so pulled open my text message application, typed 898-211, and then in the message part, I put 00022. And now I'm just going to click send. And what we're going to see here is going to see that case populate the queue. That comes to the top. Very straightforward. You've got a notifications window here. This notifications lets you know every 3 minutes it will tell you you have a new text in your queue that hasn't been answered yet. So you can use notifications to help you. Let's say you're working on another page. You'll still get that pop-up window. Let's say you hide this window. You'll still get that audio alert, right? You'll get a flashing of the icon, and then you'll also get an audio alert telling you, hey, you got a text in your queue. You can also have a text sent to a phone. So you can have your personal cell phone or a business cell phone that gets a text message when a new texter enters your queue. Wonderful. We conceal the phone number. We just say there's a new text from last 4 digits of mobile number in your queue. And then you can pop into the queue, and you can pop into the queue on your smartphone, right? So it remotely is absolutely possible. And using these notification tools is a great way to monitor your queue. All right, now this will blink periodically until it's taken. I can also click this sub-tab New, and this will show me all new cases, just the new cases, right, that haven't been answered yet. So if there were 3 or 4 in here, they would all be, when I click New, all be here to be taken and assigned to a responder, or a responder assigned to themselves. I can also, now going back to the all, I can open up this case, or I could open it from the New. And then as you can see there, my screen changes, right? It identifies that the responder role is now taken. It took a case that was new and unacknowledged and part of a pop-up window routine. If you had notifications turned on, now that's canceled, that's stopped. Why? Because somebody's taken the case. And now it's just my job to respond to that case, right? I could open up another case if I wanted to, and I could be concurrently responding to a couple cases, few cases, right? So there's protocol that you're going to have to go through as administrator to define, well, how are we going to use the service? Are we going to let a specialist respond to more than one text at a time? If so, what are going to be the rules? Are we going to put a limit on it? If so, what's that limit? In the FTP drive, you're going to see examples of methods. So what agencies use, models, so that you can also answer some of those questions just by visiting that drive and looking through some of the recommendations. Now, when I click mine, I'm going to see all cases that I am responding to or I'm case manager of. And then to send a client a message, I would go over here. Either I would hand type a message or I would select from my canned message. Now, as you can see here, as part of the opt-in, now this is an automatic opt-in, of course, right? So when I texted 00022, I got these 2 messages. Thank you for texting us. A specialist will respond shortly. Text stopped, opt out. Then I fired off another message after that, which goes about a second later. It says, to help us get started, please text your age, gender, issue, or reason for texting today. Now you have complete control over that content, right? You decide what your opt-in message is going to be. You can also do your opt-in messages in phases. So you can define your service area by launching your zip codes or launching your keywords And, and then you can have a temporary message go out that is, live help by text is currently not available. If you need more immediate help, please call 210 or visit our online database and search for referrals here, and then provide the link, right? So that the bounce back message starts out one way. And then once we get trained, everybody feels comfortable about doing their job and being supported, and everybody's ready to go, and you've got your launch plan all in mind and everything's set, then we swap out those temporary messages with your live messages. So it's neat. You can define your territory, or you can get started without actually being at the helm and responding to text, right? It's a staged deployment, and we can do things in stages like that. So people can be texting and you can be gaining interest in the service. It's wonderful. It's kind of a way of getting people to start to think about it. And then, of course, if you provide a referral and assistance, or assistance to get a referral, then you're providing them you're meeting the needs of the end user, and then letting them know at the same time live help by text is coming. You can even set a date. August 1st, live texting is coming. In the meantime, visit our website. Okay, so when I'm about ready to get started with the client, so to help us get started, please text your age, gender, and reason. So I'm going to text back, and then I'm going to text back, and then I'm going to text back food. Okay. So I am now responding to the to help us get started, please text your age, gender, and issue reason for texting. So what I did is N42, food for elder person, right? So then I know now that they've texted from this zip code, and then that they've asked, and that they have these characteristics, and then demographics, and then that the issue that they're seeking support for is food. So then what I can do is I can go food services. Do you see here how there's a pull down menu? So my canned library can be tailored to the issue. So I can pop over to food service and then use these messages while I'm having this encounter. It's really interesting. So then I can, if I know, for instance, now that I'm going to provide assistance for an elder person, food, then I can be checking the database, right? Because I know the zip code. I may have to ask a couple more questions. If there's a need, if I'm unable to find resources for that zip code, I may have to ask for something else. Or I maybe need to give them a referral that's in an adjacent zip code. The point is that you can use these automated messages to get you through your conversations so that you're doing less and less hand typing. Makes sense. So are you looking for a food bank, grocery assistance, a soup kitchen? So there's a message I want to use. And as you see there, whatever you select auto-populates. Great. I can even add something else in there, right? And then again, remember, you can also, as a specialist, create your own set. So maybe you like these messages, but you want to tweak them slightly or order them slightly differently. Well, then that would be possible just under the editing tools. Okay, so then we hear, and what you see there is a message delivery notification. So every message that gets sent gets a delivery notification from the carrier. That's carrier grade. So if it's AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, or even a Go phone, right, government issued, we get notification when the message gets delivered. Very important, critical. In the event that something goes wrong, you know about it, and you know why. This message was undeliverable in the moment in time because client was roaming. Well, what do we do then? System will auto retry sending that message on your behalf until we get a code that's different. Either it's delivered or it's still in that unable to deliver state because they're still roaming. So, but it's not you who has to, copy, paste, resend, copy, paste. That's not what this service is about. It's about being efficient, right? getting through conversations, closing them out, moving on. And so if, in fact, you find that somebody in the moment is just completely unable to receive messages, then you can hop on another case. And you might close out that case while you hop on another case. It's up to you what you do with that case. But the system will assist if messages can be retried. Now, that used to be more common. We see that less and less today just because the networks are so good. The infrastructure is relatively good now. But in rural parts of the United States, we're still seeing issues like this pop up from time to time. And you know, amazingly, text is so good for rural populations. You know, folks who can't get to even a clinic, right, because they're in a remote location where they're just, that's not possible. So being able to get them in touch with an alternative way to get some assistance with a health problem, you know, can be really, text might be just that one channel that gets through to because of where they are in the United States. All right, so once I send the content to the client, and the content can be either, if it's connected, sent straight from your CRM, right, to that mobile number, or if it's not connected, if your CRM is in the process of connecting, then you can copy and paste content. So, and content can be of any size or shape. It can be spread out on the page, right? It can be completely unruly, and we're gonna package it up and send it so that, let me pull open a PDF here. I'm going to pull up some content. Sorry about that. I thought I had this ready to go. Okay. Okay, so you can take content, copy it. I'm just going to copy some content and copy, and then you can stick it into the text box and send it. And as you can see there, there's line breaks, there's spaces. If your content is spread out over, you know, as your content in your CRM is displayed, there might be extra spaces, extra line breaks. Well, we're going to take that content and condense it down to 160 character text messages and send it as sequential text so that you don't have to worry about formatting your content before sending it. The system's going to do that for you. And then when you send that content out, it goes out. As you can see there was a counter that told us right below 697 characters of 160 entered. The message will be split into multiple SMS texts. So that's exactly what we saw, right? The message split into 160 characters and sent sequentially, approximately 3 seconds between each message, or 2 seconds. And you can see and view it as it happens. And then if there's nothing else that you're helping the client with, you close out the case. There might be a closure message that you use. Let me see here. I'm going to close your case now, right? Text back or call if you need any additional assistance. Done. And then I closed my case out. That's it. Now, another thing I wanted to show you was the ability to assign content to clients that's follow-up, of the follow-up variety. I'm going to pull open my case. Oops. Oops, I need to go to all. Okay, 831. Okay, so I'm pulling up my case, and what I want to do is I want to assign, and I'm going to hide attributes just so that we can properly see this part of the work. Okay, so I have a follow-up that I want to do with the client. I want to send a text at a later time. So I create content under the Reminders tab to be manually assigned. Now, here's an example. Hi, you had contact with 211 last week. We said we would text you or a follow-up text just to make sure you're okay. Please text back at your earliest convenience. So that's content that I have set up to assign to clients and delay. So I can pull open my case, 831, and then I can open it up. I don't have to be open on the case. I can assign this message, and then I can delay it 5 days or whatever, hours, days, minutes, right? And then I can go ahead and click that, and then one unsent message. Now, where is it? Unsent. There it is, right? I've tagged this client with a message that's going to go out 7 days from now. Super simple to do. When you scroll over the date, you see, or the timestamp, you see the time that it's going to be sent in the future. Very transparent, very easy to see, very easy to manage. You can also cancel that message if it's wrong. Easy, easy, easy. Now I'm going to show you one other thing here. This is an automated survey. So if I select my case, and then right down under that same little tab is surveys and series. So just as I can assign a message or series of messages to the client to go out in the future, I can also assign a satisfaction, sample post encounter, single question. Sure. When do I want it to go out? Immediately. So no delay. There it goes. 7/18/17, 11:57. Sample post encounter, single question. We should see it now. Populate the conversation very shortly. There it is. Was I helpful today? Rate your experience 1 to 5, where 1 is the worst ever and 5 is the very best. So I got that text. And now I'm going to reply and be generous. I'm going to reply 5. And then we see here my response. And then thank you. If you need more help, future, just text again or call us. Straightforward. I did not, as you see, I did not have to be open on that case and responding to that case to assign those texts or assign that survey. Surveys can be multiple questions. It doesn't have to be a single question. Surveys can have skip patterns so that if they answer this way, they get this text versus if they answer that way, they get that text, right? Then you can find all of your answers to your surveys in your reports. Very, very neat. The reports have all of the things that occur during encounter in your encounters report. All of the information that happens as part of your survey in your triage responses report. And how does that display? The phone number, the date of the survey, the question that was asked, the response that was given, and was the survey completed? So comprehensive records of all encounters, all surveys, anything that you do in the service, exportable into your Excel spreadsheets. You can also upload, because it's in Excel or CSV, you can take that data and upload it into a third-party software. You can also, as we talked about earlier, have your data auto-populate in your CRM. Remember when we talked about surveys and connecting those surveys? Well, we've developed API protocols to now push the results of the survey straight to your CRM. So you've got a follow-up protocol that you do in your CRM. Well, the triggering event can be that then fires off the survey in X number of days because referrals were given. And then that survey completes and the results get pushed back to your CRM to close out that follow-up protocol. And then you can display and work with the data within your CRM. Wonderful, wonderful capacity. Great way to use API connections to increase efficiencies and make your job easier. Make the process of handling follow-up, which can be incredibly difficult to do. I mean, we hear over and over again the struggles, especially if you're trying to follow up with phone. People just don't want to be bothered, right? So if you can have a text messaging survey, do that heavy lifting for you. I mean, that can really change the model for you, right? That can really change how you're following up with clients and the kind of quality information that you're getting back. So if you have any questions, we're coming up on the hour. There's so many other tabs and so many other cool features that I didn't get a chance to go over. Like this groups tab is really great. It lets you group and build groups according to whatever criteria you have. And when you build that group, you can send content to that group. Real simple stuff, kind of like email marketing. But instead, what you're doing is you're texting folks, and you're texting them because of whatever criteria you have. You can also create a group based on a group of phone numbers. So we know that we need to build a group that's ad hoc, that's just with these phone numbers. Pop them in an Excel spreadsheet, and then create my group upload, name my group, put browse, find my file, and save. Now I've got a group of mobile numbers that I had an Excel spreadsheet that I now named this group, and now I can text them. Very simple on-ramps, very simple, efficient ways to do it. All right. If you have any questions, I'm going to respond to written questions if you have any. Otherwise, we are going to end the session because we are coming up on the hour. Really appreciate your time today. Hope you got a little bit out of it. Again, my name is Jonathan Hawley. I'm with Educational Message Service Prevention-Based Text. And if you need to contact us, let me pull up in the slides. So here's our contact information. You can go info@prevention-based text, our website. You can also email me on jonathan@emsmail.org. And then here's a little blurb on the past AIRS conference. We actually had 2017 as well. And then, yeah, if you have questions, I'm going to hang out for a little bit to answer them. So I will be available to answer questions. But as far as the content and the webinar, that's come to a close. Thank you again for your time. I know you're busy people. I really appreciate you taking the time to learn about texting.